Hello, my fellow makeup enthusiasts. Welcome to my perfectly healthy expression of makeup enthusiasm. My name is Lainey, and you may not know this, but a few years ago when I started my YouTube channel, I called it Makeup Use Disorder. So at the time, I was in graduate school studying marriage and family therapy. I have since graduated. I have completed my internship, but I have not taken the national licensure exam. So I am not technically an LMFTA. It would be unethical for me to present myself as such. I am more of an MFT trainee at this point, or a pre-licensed MFT. I am also a pre-certified sex therapist. I have completed the coursework for a certification in sex therapy, but I have not completed the supervision hours to be fully certified as a sex therapist. So now that we have that out of the way and you know where I stand on a professional level, let me talk to you about actual makeup use disorder. As I used to say in my videos, makeup use disorder is not an official DSM diagnosis, but I discovered a few months into doing YouTube that it is a real thing. One day I came across some videos of people talking about their struggles with makeup. People had lost their apartments because they had spent their rent money on makeup. People had lost their relationships because they were so involved with makeup that they couldn't even spend the time with their significant other that would be necessary to nurture the relationship. Or they were in fights over their spending habits. People were consumed by buying makeup, putting on makeup. Some people would not leave the house without a full face of makeup. It caused them extreme anxiety, all of these things and more. It is a real problem for many, many people out there. So I feel like I am in a very good position to talk about makeup use disorder. And I feel like it would be irresponsible of me not to. Now, I have to admit that I am nervous as hell to film this video because I want to make sure that I get everything right, that I present the facts properly, that I don't offend or trigger anyone, and that I present the material in a way that is as helpful as possible. And I know that I'm not going to hit every point. I know that I'm going to get some things wrong. In every video, I usually say something that's incorrect, but usually it's a release date or an ingredient in an eyeshadow. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to affect someone's mental health. So please know that while I do have certain qualifications and a great deal of training, I'm a human being, I make mistakes, so if I make a mistake in this video, I apologize in advance. So let's go ahead and jump into makeup use disorder. I was originally going to start this video off by asking you where the disordered behavior occurs. Is it in makeup wearing or is it in makeup buying? And when I thought about it, I realized that those are two separate videos. And I think the majority of you out there struggle with makeup buying more than you struggle with makeup wearing. I think most people, even people that are super obsessed with makeup, that love it, that wear it all the time, are perfectly fine like going to the grocery store without any makeup on, let alone a full face. And I am going to talk about makeup wearing disorder, but right now, in this moment, I'm going to focus on the problems associated with makeup purchasing. And that discussion begins with a discussion of impulsivity. Not impulse control. I want to talk about impulsivity itself because I know that it would be a very easy leap to say, well, people that buy too much makeup have an impulse control problem. Not necessarily. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my personal life. I have been super impulsive in the past. I impulsively changed my major as an undergrad because I read 2 paragraphs of a linguistics book in Barnes & Noble and went from being a music major to being a linguistics major, and it worked out really well for me. I ended up working in a neurolinguistics lab at Rice University. That was awesome. I impulsively moved to Los Angeles just because an opportunity presented itself and I packed up, got the cat, and moved to Los Angeles. And that was one of the best experiences of my life. I was in a job situation where I felt like it was an abusive workplace environment. I was being taken advantage of. I was overworked. I was underpaid. I was literally addicted to cocaine because I was working so many hours, and the managers encouraged that habit. And so I had enough. I threw my files on the desk and I walked out. And it was an impulse, but it was a good one. So impulses can be very healthy, and they can lead to really good decisions, especially when your emotions are running high. There is a common myth out there that the best decisions are made logically, not emotionally, and that is absolutely false. I will put a link in the description box to a study by Antonio Damasio called the Somatic Marker Hypothesis, where basically he proved that you need some gut feeling, some sort of emotional response, or some sort of physical sensation to make sound decisions. You know how you get that little flip in your stomach, or you get that little surge of excitement? It's a physical sensation, and actually you need that in order to make sound decisions. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about that. Read the article if you are interested. I'm going to move on and talk about logic versus emotions. Emotions, makeup purchasing. That's emotional. I don't know of anybody who actually buys makeup logically. We may try to justify the hell out of it, but it's not logical. It's emotional. There's something that is drawing us to that palette, whether it's because somebody that we like on YouTube talked about it, whether it's just a color story that makes us happy. It's emotional. And it's not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself. Impulsivity is actually an adaptive trait. People who are impulsive can rise high in this world. They can also get in a lot of trouble, but they are likely to be very successful because they're not afraid of risks. In fact, most of us tend to be risk averse, not reward oriented. Say if I had a 50% chance of winning a $1,000 Sephora gift card, I mean, you could buy a shitload of makeup with that, right? Okay, so I've got a 50% chance of getting a $1,000 Sephora gift card, but I also have a 50% chance of getting shot. So am I gonna take that chance? Probably not, because I'm going to avoid that extreme risk. But in real life, the stakes usually aren't that high. Buying makeup is pretty low risk. I mean, worst case scenario, you get the product and it sucks. Maybe you get a rash. Maybe you have a fight with your significant other because you spent so much money on makeup. I mean, really, it's pretty low risk in the grand scheme of things. But I want to talk about risk-taking behavior and novelty-seeking behavior. So people who maybe are a little bit deficient in dopamine, that is a neurotransmitter that lights up the brain's pleasure centers and that makes a behavior more likely to reoccur. It makes the behavior that we just did more subjectively rewarding because we get that dopamine surge. It feels good. So novelty seekers, maybe, we're not 100% sure on this, but we think that novelty seekers maybe don't quite have enough dopamine in their brains. And so they do daredevil things, or they seek new experiences to try to stimulate that dopamine production. I feel this is totally unscientific. This is just something that I came up with. And I don't even know. I would love to officially study this one of these days, but right now I don't have the time to do it. But let me still put it out there to you, and I want to hear what you think about this. I feel like people who are engaging in addictive behaviors that don't involve substance abuse, things like gambling or shopping or internet gaming or things of that nature. I feel like those people are novelty seekers, but they are very risk averse for whatever reason. Maybe they have an injury and they used to be a skydiver, but now they can't do that. So they need that rush from something. And so they're turning to gaming to fulfill that need for that rush. I think a lot of people who love that rush that they get from buying some really high ticket, big ticket makeup item are novelty seekers, but they don't necessarily want to go skydiving, but they want that rush. And I believe firmly, for myself at least, that buying a big ticket makeup item, it impulsively, it feels freaking great. Am I wrong? I mean, doing something like that, you feel great. You get that adrenaline rush. You get that dopamine surge. It feels wonderful. You almost feel accomplished. You feel proud of that purchase. You want to put it on Instagram. You want to show it to your friends. You want to make a YouTube video about it. Impulsivity feels good. It gives you a dopamine rush. And so it is likely to occur again. The behavior that preceded the dopamine rush is likely to be repeated. That is Thorndike's law of effect. You engage in a behavior, you get a dopamine rush, the behavior is probably going to happen again. On the flip side, you engage in a behavior, you get an electric shock. Unless you're a freak and you like that kind of thing, the behavior is unlikely to be repeated. So that is a reward versus a punishment. And please don't confuse punishment with negative reinforcement. That's a super common mistake, but I want to kind of wrap this video up on the subject of negative reinforcement because I feel like negative reinforcement is the very heart of addiction. It is patient zero of addiction. So punishment can either be positive or negative. So a positive punishment would be adding something aversive or unpleasant. So like a spanking. Again, unless you like that kind of thing. So you do something wrong, you get swatted, that's positive punishment. There is negative punishment where you're enjoying an ice cream cone and you do something wrong, and so your caretaker or your master, whatever, knocks the ice cream out of your hand. Boom, you don't have the rewarding ice cream anymore. That is negative punishment, taking away something that you like. So reinforcement can be positive or negative. Positive reinforcement would be you do something good, you get a dopamine surge. You buy a great eyeshadow palette, boom, you get that dopamine surge. That is positive reinforcement. You do something good and that takes away something aversive or something unpleasant. That is also very, very rewarding. And that is negative reinforcement. I think a lot of alcoholics drink to numb the pain. Negative reinforcement, taking away something unpleasant. I think a lot of people who feel addicted to makeup purchase makeup in order to escape something or in order to relieve some sort of stress. And so it's negative reinforcement. Are you with me here? Does that make sense? What do you think about that? Do you feel like when your makeup purchasing is out of control? If it is, I'm not saying that it is, or if you're watching this for a friend that you think might be out of control, do you feel like the purchasing gets more out of control when you or the person that you're concerned about is trying to avoid something unpleasant or escape something unpleasant or numb some sort of pain? Because it works for 5 minutes, maybe a few hours, maybe even a few days, but it's not a long-term solution. So tell me down below, do you feel like you buy makeup in order to escape something or in order to numb something? I know that I personally have definitely self-medicated with makeup in the past. I don't think there's a single individual out there who hasn't self-medicated with something, be it makeup or alcohol or nicotine or video games or shopping or gambling, something. We have all done it, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. I personally struggle more with purchasing impulsively or maybe purchasing things that I regret later when I am in a really good mood because I am trying to intensify the joy that I already feel. Say I'm in a really good mood and I go into Sephora and everything looks shiny and pretty and alluring to me. Things that normally wouldn't even catch my eye. So I'm on cloud 9 and I'm in Sephora and I see this nude lipstick that I would typically turn my nose up at. And I'm like, ooh, that would be so pretty. That would be so fun. That's something different for me. I'm gonna get it. And then I get home and go, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? And did it really extend my joy that much? No, but I don't realize that until later. So that's my problem. Does anybody else out there experience that end of the makeup impulse purchase spectrum? I don't know, but I know that that's my personal problem. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video here because I feel it getting long. I don't want to put too much out there too fast. I want you to be able to digest what I'm saying. And so I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I'm going to try my best to keep it between 10 and 15 minutes. And in the next video, I will be talking about behavioral extinction. That is stopping the behavior. And in particular, I will be discussing the partial reinforcement extinction effect. That is something that I studied for about a decade. And I've never really had a platform where I could talk to anybody who was legitimately interested in hearing about it. So I hope that that is something that I can relate to makeup. In fact, I know I can relate it to makeup because I already made my notes. So I'm really excited about the next video. I will see you in that one. Thank you so much for joining me. Follow me on Instagram. I'm really silly on Instagram. It's a lot of awkward selfies, pictures of my cats, pictures of my costumes. But if you follow me, I will follow you back. Throw me a pity like, give me some encouragement to make some more videos. I really have high hopes and so many goals for this video series. Very special shout out to you if you are watching this video on the toilet. And until next time, I usually say stay adorably obsessed with makeup, but maybe I'm gonna change my outro for this series. So enjoy your joy responsibly.